biggest football night in America. Presented by Progressive.
Win to go home. We make it late. We dominate.
Showtime.
You got this. Keep believing. Let's go.
Prime time.
We got one chance, and that's right now.
Let the games begin.
Ain't no tomorrow.
I'm back in it.
The Giants are on to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles.
On the win.
A missile launched by Allen. The Cincinnati Kings.
I will not lose. This is my moment. You will not forget it.
Call up the highlight
This
reel.
is for history.
Chiefs Kingdom.
I am the future.
Jaguars have won
The
it.
top is my target.
Eyes for the pylon. Touchdown.
Dallas is going on to the divisional round.
Do it again.
San Francisco.
Let the games begin. It's showtime. Prime time. Let the games begin.
I cannot believe what I just saw.
I was born to win.
What a play.
It's showtime. Like prime time.
Round two, baby.
It's showtime.
Patrick Mahomes is the heavy favorite to win his second career MVP, with the Chiefs one win away from reaching the AFC title game for a fifth straight year. Meanwhile, Trevor Lawrence is coming off of one of the wildest playoff debuts in recent memory, leading the Jaguars from down 27 to the Chargers just 1 week ago. Now, the weather could be a factor. The snow literally just started coming down. It's in the 30s, and we'll see how it continues throughout the day. The winner of this matchup will meet either Cincinnati or Buffalo. And remember, if the Chiefs and Bills both win, then the AFC Championship would be hosted at a neutral site in Atlanta. Meanwhile, over in the NFC, the Eagles host the Giants tonight before the Cowboys visit the Niners in a late game tomorrow night. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kansas City, where the snow has just started falling. This is one of the best scenes in all of football. We've got fake Andy Reid here. We've got baby Patrick Mahomes. And recently, these fans have known nothing but success. They've been led by the real Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and the Chiefs have made deep playoff runs season after season, and of course won a Super Bowl just 3 years ago. Now, it's a different story for their opponents today, but under the leadership of Reid's disciple, Doug Peterson, the growth of Trevor Lawrence, Jacksonville went from worst in the league to AFC South champs. We got two teams, 2 wins from Super Bowl 57. Our whole team's here in Kansas City to kick off the divisional weekend, including Jason Garrett, Tony Dungy, who are on the field. Good afternoon, guys.
Hey, Maria, how you doing out there? Hey, Coach, you know better than anybody. The goal for every head coach is to be who you are. Get your team to be the best versions of themselves. And it'll be no different today. You know, for Jacksonville, it's handling the moment. It's handling this atmosphere and this crowd. And for Kansas City, be who you are is loose and free. So go be that, but make sure you don't get too frivolous, too much hee-hee and ha-ha. Keep the hammer down for 60 minutes and go win a ball game.
Absolutely. And then on the Jaguars side, I think, Jason, the key is going to be the word blitz. On offense, they've got to be ready for the blitz. Kansas City's going to bring it. And then on defense, they only blitzed 1 time against Patrick Mahomes last game. They got to mix it up a little bit more and blitz a little bit more today. Now, to hear about the quarterbacks we're going to see today, let's go over to Chris Sims.
Thanks, guys. The quarterbacks look great. Let's start with Trevor Lawrence, right? The elements, it's a little wet out there. He was a machine. Went really through the whole process that I saw him go through in our first game of the year at the Hall of Fame. Threw the ball great, was businesslike, looked really good and confident. Now, on the other side, hey, Patrick Mahomes, businesslike as always, too. But, man, watching Patrick Mahomes in pregame warm-up, it's like watching Steph Curry shoot 3-pointers, Bo Jackson take batting practice. I mean, he's sitting back in the back of the end zone, falling backwards, just throwing perfect spirals and lasers all over the football field. He's ready to go. The Chiefs are ready to go. Jack, over to you.
Simsy, it is one of the loudest stadiums we come to every single time. We got the wolf, we got the snow. Forget the umbrellas. We're not soft like coaches out there, are we?
Hold on. Coach Garrett and Coach Dungy, 2 softies, man, with umbrellas? Are you kidding me? What's going on?
Hey, and you played 9 years in the AFC West. What is it that makes this place different?
This place is the loudest place I've ever played. But what I really like coming here is the fans. The fans are very respectful. You don't have to worry about them cussing you out or throwing something at you. It's really a pleasure to play here.
I like the snow coming in. It's coming in hard, too. And Doug Peterson, he took over a team that was dead last in the division. They were desperate for leadership. And now that aggressive style he has, Jacksonville making a run in January. anywhere.
This is easy to me. Doug Peterson should be the coach of the year. The job that he's been able to do to come in there and just get those guys to believe in him and to really change that negative mindset and that losing mentality, he should be coach of the year.
I'm right there with you. At least those guys on the field were holding their own umbrellas, though. We got to give a few points for that. Peterson spent 4 years playing for Andy Reid, then 7 years on Andy Reid's coaching staff. These guys know each other so well. Peterson got his Super Bowl first, but Andy Reid followed suit. We got the Jags. We got the Chiefs on Divisional Weekend.
Football Night in America is brought to you by Progressive, the right call to protect your home and car. By BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Please gamble responsibly. And by Applebee's. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
Well, the snow has already started here. A little bit of a wintry mix. That's what we're going to call it. As soon as the show started, here comes the snow. The weather is trending here towards football. We're getting set for a divisional round here in Kansas City. Jaguars taking on the Chiefs. And Josh Allen leads the Jaguars in sacks so far this season. Earlier, before the snow, he caught up with Rodney Harrison.
What was Coach Peterson's message to you guys this week?
We brothers. We're going to go to war with each other. We're going to go to war with each other. And we're ready to go to war with each other.
What's impressed you about your young quarterback, Trevor Lawrence?
Never quit. And we're going to fight for him no matter what. And he know that. We got to trust it. We got faith and trust in each other through thick and thin. And he knows that. And we know he got us, and we know we got him.
Patrick Mahomes, he's healthy. He's playing like the MVP. He's making plays, scrambling. How do you contain him?
Man, we're going to have to work. By the end of the day, we're going to have to work. We ain't come this far to come this far. And we're going to win this game. And that's just our mentality. We're going to win. We're going to win.
Well, all the best to you, brother. I appreciate you. Nice to meet you. All right.
That smile from Josh Allen tells you everything you need to know about trying to contain Patrick Mahomes. But take a look at the numbers right there. Allen has 5 sacks over the last 6 games. It's helped that he's got the #1 overall pick in Trayvon Walker, also on the D-line alongside him. But they didn't have any sacks against Patrick Mahomes in Week 10. So what did we see in the original meeting between the Jaguars and the Chiefs?
Well, Josh said they've got their work cut out for them, and they really do. They didn't really want to blitz Mahomes. They rushed 4 guys almost every time. And the problem when you rush 4, there's 5 blockers, so that leaves a running lane. And Patrick Mahomes found those lanes in the first game, and in the playoffs, he tends to run even more. He ramps it up. So that 4-man pressure is a little bit of a problem, Chris.
Definitely a big problem. This is a big aspect of the Chiefs and this 2022 team they got. This offensive line they have, Orlando Brown, Joe Tooney, Creed Humphrey. It has changed their football team. It's one of the best pass-protecting offensive lines in football. Jaguars going to have to do something special to kind of upset their winning formula right now, Coach Garrett.
Simsy, reflect back to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago when Kansas City's offensive line was in a shambles.
Right.
It really goes to the alignment in this organization. They had a need. They addressed it. They got 3 excellent football players up front. It's one of the strengths of their team. And for Jacksonville, those guys got to show up. Arden Key, all these different defensive linemen, they just have to show up. Josh Allen has to be a factor in this game. And the other guy is Mike Caldwell, their defensive coordinator. They have to have some timely blitzes to get pressure on Mahomes. That's going to be a key to this ball game.
Well, how about this? Patrick Mahomes has scrambled 119 consecutive times without being sacked, so we'll see whether or not the Jaguars can get hands on him. Coach, I need to get you a hat. I feel like that. I don't want the snow hitting Coach like this anymore.
I have one soon.
I know. I have a beret, but I'll get you a hat. Let's send it back out to Jack Collinsworth, who's with a couple of special guests.
Maria, we are joined by a couple WWE superstars, women's champion Bianca Belair and her husband Montez Ford. I'm told we have a big anniversary to celebrate. What's happening?
Well, it's not a wedding anniversary, Jack, but just in 2 days in Philadelphia, we're going to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Monday Night Raw on USA. And just like tonight, it's going to be a lot of drama and a lot of high stakes involved.
And I know you guys are used to the most wild environments in the WWE. Kansas City is known for the exact same thing. How does this compare to what you're used to?
I mean, it's the exact same thing. Both places, they're going to get intensity. They're going to get passion. Everybody knows what is on the line, and they expect to get what they want, which is a win.
I love the WWE. Hey, let me ask you this. You're used to high-stakes competition. Do you have a pick in this game?
Oh, definitely. You know, they call me the EST of WWE, which means I'm the strongest, the fastest, the roughest, the toughest, the quickest, the greatest, the best, and the smartest. And you know who else has all that in the league? Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah!
He is the EST of the NFL, so I'm definitely going with him tonight.
Easy money.
Oh, come on. In the ring, I'm not afraid of anyone, but tonight you must be a fool to go against any other team that is not named the Kansas City
It's a little teaser on the game picks, and we will see them for Monday Night Raw, 8 p.m. Eastern on USA, and then the Royal Rumble on Peacock next Saturday night. Gotta tell you what, there's somebody playing this game tonight, got a little WWE to his style as well. Travis Kelce getting set. Playoff football coming up with the snow falling in Kansas City.
Nobody want to see nobody else in the NFL play except the Eagles and the Giants.
So many common things. It makes them not like one another. Never have, never will.
I just hate them dudes. I hate all of them.
Don't give them any freedom.
That's unbelievable.
Wait a minute. I don't believe it. The Eagles pick it up. Randall Cunningham. That is a big-time play. It's intercepted by Strahan. He's let it go. How about those birds? This is what they work for. An opportunity to take it to the limit.
Well, clearly the rivalry runs deep, but for those two squads, they're getting set for their first playoff meeting in 14 years, and the winner of Giants-Eagles will face either the Cowboys or Niners in next week's NFC Championship. And Peter King is in Philly for tonight's game. A little bit of better weather for him, Peter, but all eyes have been on Jalen Hurts and his throwing shoulder. What have you heard in terms of how he's feeling going into tonight's game?
Well, Maria, I don't think he's going to have a lot of trouble throwing the football. It was 5 weeks ago, right on this field, that he sprained his throwing shoulder against the Chicago Bears. I think most people around the team feel like he's going to be able to throw the ball just fine. The big question is, will he be able to run the ball with the same authority that he did when he averaged 11 rushes per game in the regular season? He only had one designed run in his last game against the Giants. He must unleash his legs in this game for the Eagles to be able to be the offense that they normally are.
The team with the best record in the NFL, waiting to see how their quarterback feels as they go against the Giants. And for those New York Giants, their wide receiver, Isaiah Hodgins, a huge game last week in Minnesota, 8 receptions, 105 yards, and a touchdown. What more can you tell us about his story, Peter?
It's an amazing story, really, Maria, because on November 1st, the Buffalo Bills, who employed Hodgins, tried to cut him and then sneak him through waivers and bring him back on the practice squad. One team in the NFL claimed him, and that was the New York Giants. And since then, he's been the Giants' best receiver. 5 touchdown receptions, 0 drops in the regular season and last week in a playoff game. He has retained his friendships in Buffalo, though. And on Monday, he had a conversation with Stephon Diggs, his good buddy and wide receiver of the Buffalo Bills, and they agreed to have a little competition this postseason. Who will exit this postseason with the most receiving yards? Right now, it is Diggs 114, Hodgins 105, and Maria, for Isaiah Hodgins, that is the game within a game this weekend.
I love it. A little competition, breeding some motivation. Great stuff, Peter. And remember, you can keep in touch with what Peter's writing about Monday's Football Morning in America column on NBCSports.com. But for more on the Giants and Eagles, let's go back to Jack and Rodney.
Yeah, Maria, Philly, they made a move at wide receiver to begin the year, too, trading for A.J. Brown. They gave him that $100 million payday, and it's been by far the biggest year of his career.
I'm defensive coordinator Wink Martindale. I'm telling my secondary, my linebackers, we got to play a lot more aggressive, attack the short, intermediate passing. And this is what Jalen Hurts wants to do. He's hurt. he's not 100%, get it to his playmakers. And a guy like A.J. Brown, this is the difficulty, tackling him. But also, when they get in red zone, you got to double team this guy. One defensive back cannot stick him. You got to put two guys on him. He's the target. They didn't give him $100 million because they didn't want to pass him the ball. You got to make sure you take care of business with him.
And we got to give some credit where it's due to. How about Howie Roseman getting the missing piece for that team? A.J. Brown, one of the most productive offseason pickups anywhere, and he's contributing. They need him in a game like this. For more on tonight's game, let's head to the field. Mike Florio and Matthew Berry, take it away.
Thanks, Jack. Look, you just heard Rodney talk about A.J. Brown. They got to double him. Well, that's going to free up some stuff for Devontae Smith, who's now got 9 straight games with at least 8 targets. His own connection with Jalen Hurts. I think he'll see some man-to-man opportunities. So Smith, who has at least 67 receiving yards in 5 of the last 6 games, I think he gets that number today. By the way, on the other side of the ball, how about Richie James? You attack the Eagles in the slot. They give up the 8th most yards to the slot. No Avonte Maddox. So I think Richie James gets at least 45 yards today, Mike Florio.
And some of the coaches tonight hoping to coach their way into bigger jobs. Giants offensive coordinator Mike Kafka, his first year on the job. He was actually with the Chiefs for 5 years as an assistant, played for Andy Reid for 2 years. And the Colts, the Texans, and the Panthers all want to talk to him. He hasn't interviewed yet. Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinator of the Giants, he is on the list to be interviewed by the Colts. Hasn't happened yet. On the other side of the ball, the Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon. Last year he was a finalist for the head coaching job with the Houston Texans. He's interviewed again this year. We wait to see how that plays out. For more, back to Maria.
All right, thanks, Mike. Much more from the entire group over the coming weeks and months. Starting to get hype there in Arrowhead. We got PFT Live, Unbuttoned, Fantasy Football Happy Hour, and Brother from Another, all available on Peacock and the NFL on NBC YouTube channel.
Want to get pumped for the action? Just tell Siri, play the Today's Hits playlist.
I didn't know if I was going to be a first-round draft pick.
Ready or not?
I got to go to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Do something special.
Already a playoff team, and the rest is history.
Made for the greatness, tested and proven.
I really try not to compare myself to those guys in that way.
Jags win the AFC South.
I don't look at it as me versus him. Obviously, winning is the most important.
You got a champion!
I feel young at heart, but in this locker room, I feel like a veteran.
Don't worry about talking.
I get everybody ready to roll.
Keep dominating.
When you look at it, I want to be one of the best quarterbacks in this league. That's important to me.
You try to take in those moments, and it's a feeling that you want to get back to.
We are built for this.
Hey, look, Aaliyah said it best. Age ain't nothing but a number, but every starting quarterback this weekend is under the age of 30, so we're all feeling old here. Lawrence at 23 is the second youngest, just a couple months older than Brock Purdy, and Patrick Mahomes at 27 is the second oldest behind Dak Prescott, who is basically ancient at this point.
Old man.
I know, he's just 29, by the way. And Mahomes at 27, obviously the best scoring offense, the best total offense, and he gave us so much Mahomes magic all season long. Can we just have a moment to celebrate it?
Oh, please.
Okay.
You know I'm ready. Let's go. I mean, Mahomes magic. This is one season I just want to remind everybody, okay? This is like highlights of a lifetime of a career of great quarterbacks. This is what I like to call Steph Curry with a spiral, as you saw in the graphic there. What sidearm pass underneath an armpit and another arm, and then still throws a perfect spiral, guys. It's unbelievable.
Football players chasing him, Cindy. It's unbelievable. Hey, how about this? A lot of quarterback gurus talk about ground force and the force you put into the ground. Hey, how about if both your feet are in the air? Looking down the field, he throws this thing 55, 60 yards.
Who needs the ground, JJ?
To do it. It's ridiculous.
Elevate and spin it. That's all he does.
Well, the guts to do it, and then to put it on the money down the field, Coach Dungy.
50 yards between the 8 and the 4.
Right.
With no feet on the ground.
Like Johnny Lou Jack.
You have to tell me who that is a little bit later, Jason. Let's talk about one of my favorite plays of the season, because we were there in Tampa. He literally practiced this in front of our eyes. He hits a spin move, then an alley-oop. And it was like the best play I've ever seen, and then he did 3 more the rest of the season that looked just like it.
I'm with you. I don't know. Is that LeBron James going down the lane, throwing an alley-oop to Michael Jordan? I don't know what's going on, but that's where he's just magical.
I don't know how you do that.
Create, right.
I don't know how you do that.
How do you defend that?
Poise.
So many questions. It was impressive to see in person, but I love watching the highlights back of this guy nonstop.
And those are all pros chasing him, as Jason said. But I tell you what gets me, you guys talk about all the passes. When I was the defensive coordinator and this happened, this drives you crazy. It's 3rd and 17. You got the perfect defense. Everybody's covered, and then he runs around and just dashes and picks up the first down in a critical situation. Who does this?
Picked up a first down. It was a 30-yard gain. Just a walk in the park for this guy.
That's what's so frustrating, Coach. To your point, they did everything right, and you still don't stop.
Okay, this is a good one, too. Underhand flip.
You guys have been talking Steph Curry. This guy is Magic Johnson. That's who he is.
I see what you did.
Leading the break.
Byron Scott there.
Yeah, I mean, the no-look throw. You got people chasing him right on the money. It's like to James Worthy, Michael Cooper. Never seen anything like this on a football field.
Hot potato on the football field. It's just, and the poise
over and over again.
This is one season. And then you say, Magic, I'll see your magic, and go Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And then, hey, coaches, you know this. They always say don't throw it late over the middle. Well, what about late across the field with a hook shot? We never have seen some of the throws we've seen from Patrick Mahomes, and he does it, and you want to go, oh, that was lucky, but he does it so much.
Every time.
Oh, no, this is what he's good at.
And I got to tell you guys, the reason why we kept comparing it to basketball plays because we've never seen it on a football field, so there's really no comparison. We got to bring in Magic and Kareem and Steph and everybody else.
I know Coach Garrett wasn't letting his quarterbacks do that.
That would have made him nervous.
Hey, you know that old expression, fortune favors the bold? He's as bold as it gets. Those plays are incredible.
Listen, and add on to that, he had a career-high completion percentage, so you might think those are wild plays, but he knows exactly where he's going, and he gets it done. But the Chiefs can also get it done on the ground. Let's go back out to Jack and Rodney for more.
They sure can, Maria. Andy Reid, he's been looking for stability in his running back room. He drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first round, but all year it's been his backups that have elevated the entire operation.
I've been talking to Coach Andy Reid the entire time, telling him he has to run the ball. And finally, he has that running back that can run in between the tackles. Tough, physical, downhill running. And that's what you get from Isaiah Pacheco, 7th-round pick. Every time he touches the ball, he runs like it's his last play. He's physical. He brings a lot of toughness and energy. But the compliment to him is Jerick McKinnon. I don't call him a running back. I don't call him a receiver. I call him a playmaker. And all they want to do is get him in open space against anybody. He's a fantastic player, and he's going to continue to make plays like this.
And those next-gen stats are powered by AWS. To your point, though, Jerick McKinnon, 8 receiving touchdowns the last 6 weeks of the regular season. That leads the entire NFL hot rod. Andy Reid has been getting him the football. We're just about an hour away from kicking off the divisional playoffs. Get used to this matchup. The future of the AFC. Trevor Lawrence and Patrick Mahomes. Jags Chiefs coming up.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Wait for your brother today.
Get the fire extinguisher. Dawson's not as hot as a firecracker.
Hold that ball's out. That's live. The Cincinnati can't score.
I'm making money.
Dallas Cowboys are going on to the divisional round of the playoffs.
Better stand back, because I'm coming through. San Francisco. Pretty good. That was pretty good.
About an hour until kickoff, but it's never too early to look ahead to the doubleheader you got coming your way tomorrow. The Bengals and the Bills, after that canceled game week 17, they finally meet the Bills on an 8-game win streak and the Bengals on a 9-game win streak. Meanwhile, the Cowboys and 49ers are meeting in the playoffs for this 2nd straight season. And let's start with the Bengals and the Bills because it's a matchup that we've all had our eyes on for a while, but something that's concerning to you, the fact that 3 offensive linemen are scratched out for the Bengals to start this game.
Yeah, it changes the dynamic of the football game. I'm worried about the Cincinnati Bengals. You know, there's a lot of things where I look at it and go, hey, they match up well with the Buffalo Bills. But the fact that, like you said, Maria, you're missing 3 out of your 5 starters. The protection was not very good against Baltimore last week. There was a lack of run game. So that plays into Buffalo's hands to be able to play, let's stop Jamar Chase. Let's stop Joe Burrow in the passing game. They're not going to have to worry a whole lot about a run game. And Burrow better have eyes in the back of his head because he's not going to have a lot of time to throw.
Yeah, Joe Burrow was sacked 4 times last week. And in the playoffs last year, he was sacked 19 times. times in 4 games. That's not something that the Bengals want to repeat this season. Let's talk about the 49ers, though, and the Cowboys. Brock Purdy, 6-0 as a starter, Jason, but there's something interesting you're looking for in the offense.
Yeah, the Cowboys were dominant on defense the other night against Tampa Bay, and Kyle Shanahan watched the tape, and I guarantee you Kyle Shanahan is not going to throw the ball 64 times in this ball.
You don't think so?
They're just not going to do it.
Don't do it.
It plays right into the Cowboys' hands. When you get those pass rushers rushing up the field, it feels like there's 13 guys on defense. Look for Kyle Shanahan to feature Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell. I bet they run it 30-plus times in this game. They got to quiet that front down.
Agreed.
Yeah, when we think Cowboys, we think of Dak Prescott and Zeke and CeeDee Lamb, but this is going to be a defensive game. That defense is going to have to step up and stop that 49er running game.
I would agree. The defense is going to have to get them one extra possession. If I'm Brock Purdy, to Coach Garrett's point, play conservative early. He has not seen a defense like Dallas. Not only the scheme is creative, it's the best pass rush he's played since he's been a starter. So that's where you want to be careful, especially early.
Sure, and Purdy 4 total touchdowns against the Seahawks last week. We'll see what he has for us here, as he again hasn't lost a game since taking over
They're on fire
as a starter. It's time now, though, for a PFT update brought to you by Google Pixel. And speaking of the Dallas defense, Mike, what's the latest with defensive coordinator Dan Quinn?
Oh, hey, Maria, he has had a very busy week, not only getting ready for the 49ers offense, interviewing 3 times. Yesterday in person with the Denver Broncos for the head coaching job there, virtually with the Indianapolis Colts to be their head coach, and today a virtual interview with the Arizona Cardinals for their vacant head coaching job. One interesting wrinkle to the potential for Dan Quinn in Denver. He may bring with him offensive coordinator Darrell Bevell, who was the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks with Russell Wilson when Wilson had some of his best years. Also, 49ers defensive coordinator DeMeco Ryans has interviewed with the Texans, where he once played, and the Broncos. The Broncos were impressed, but the Broncos are believed to be looking for a coach with experience, and that leads me to Sean Payton, the biggest name out there. The Broncos, the Cardinals, the Texans, the Panthers, all interested. And even though Payton said this week that the Saints, who still hold his contractual rights, want a mid to late first-round pick in the event that he goes to a new team, I'm told the Saints want more than that, and they'll definitely want more if he goes to the Panthers, who play in the same division as the New Orleans Saints, Maria.
All right, Mike, we're going to follow the latest on ProFootballTalk.com. But, guys, could you imagine for a second being one of these assistants? You're preparing for probably one of the biggest games in your career, and you could also be interviewing for a life-changing position, a head coaching position for the first time in your career. I don't know how you balance it, but what are your thoughts on what they're going through right now?
I think the NFL has to change the process. They have to slow this thing down because it's unfair to everybody involved. No disrespect to the coaches who are doing these Zoom interviews. It's part of their profession, growing in the profession. But the setup is bad, and it takes their attention away from the ball game.
No, you had the key word there, unfair. I think it's unfair to a lot of people, to these fans who are trying to see their team succeed in the playoffs. It's unfair to these players, and it's unfair even to the owners. How are you going to get a good picture of a person when they're concerned about dealing with a playoff game, trying to stop the other team and interview for your team?
Yeah, these guys are on it.
Yeah.
I mean, these are coaches. They know what it's all about. And it is unfair. It's unfair to the overall product of the NFL. Dan Quinn needs to be in there coming up with a few more blitzes for Brock Purdy and how to stop the run game. Instead, he's a little worried about an interview. And we all want to see them at their best. Divisional AFC, NFC Championship weekend.
Slow it down, take your time.
Yeah, you know, DeMeco Ryans said this week, even though he's been interviewing, the main thing, Dallas Cowboys offense. That's the most important thing for him and for these assistant coaches as they look forward and playing in these divisional round games. All right, we are getting set here. Kansas City fans, not bothered by the snow, okay? We're trying to act a little bit more
just
like
another
them.
day.
Just another day in the neighborhood in Kansas City. For Kadarius Toney, one of the X Factors, we're going to break down the Kansas City Chiefs offense and hear Tony's chat with Doug Peterson. That's coming up next. All right, we got the signs out here in Kansas City. Not a Chargers fan here for a little bit of revenge. Yeah, you guys were up 27-zip, couldn't pull it out. Trevor Lawrence, first Saturday loss. You guys know he's 41-0 in Saturday games in high school and college. Impressive. We'll see if he gets his first loss here today against Kansas City. All right, you guys know what time it is. Chris Sims, Matthew Berry, BetMGM, take it away.
Yep, it's BetMGM breakdown time. My man Matthew Berry. Guy's crazy over here. We're dealing with the elements. It's awesome. Now, we're on Patrick Mahomes' field, all right?
Yeah, this is great.
A little birdie told me you like something about the quarterback on the other team today.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence, listen, we know Patrick Mahomes is going to be awesome. We're going to talk about him later. But because Mahomes is so great, Lawrence is going to have to throw. Remember, the Chiefs faced the third most pass attempts in the NFL this year. No team in the NFL gave up more passing touchdowns this year than the Kansas City Chiefs. I think Trevor Lawrence throws at least 2 touchdowns today, I should say, because, get this, the Chiefs have given up multiple touchdown passes in 70% of their games.
Yeah, and listen, I hear you. I think you're on the right track there. I don't know if they're going to be able to run the ball consistently on this Chiefs defense. One thing I look at with Travis Etienne, and to your point, Matthew Berry, is the screen game. I think that is one way to simplify the Chiefs defense. They can't get too crazy. Also slows down the aggression of the defensive line of the Chiefs, which I do think poses problems for that Jaguars O-line. Screen games to Etienne, screen games to the receivers as well, which I know you got your eye on one of the receivers.
Yeah, it's Christian Kirk.
Right.
Chiefs also give up the most slot receptions to any team in the NFL. Christian Kirk, who plays the slot, has a 23% target share, gets at least 6 receptions tonight, Simsy.
All right, watch out for that. Now, new BetMGM customers can sign up and bet $10 on any NFL game to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with bonus code NBC150. Maria, back over to you.
All right, well, let's talk about the Jags. They haven't lost since December 4th, and they've come from behind in 7 of their last 8 wins. But none were more improbable than last week when they were down 27-0 to the Chargers. And this week, Tony asked Doug Peterson about his mindset during the first half of last Saturday night.
Tough half for the Jags, but you got to keep battling. You got a half to play now.
Honestly, it was like, well, we had a great run. It's probably going to be over. I also knew this football team. There was no quit in this team.
Can't get it all back in one play.
A lot of times you've been in there where there's a lot of yelling and screaming, and we got to do this better and that better and whatever. There wasn't any of that. Defensively, we came out, we got the stops we needed. I told the offense at halftime that we were going to have to score every time we touched the football, and we did in the second half.
Good! You got to love Doug Peterson and what he's built. These guys never feel like they're out of it.
Did you sleep at all Saturday night?
I didn't. We stayed up. we stayed up for a while.
You believe in miracles?
Yeah. We just enjoyed the moment. It took me a while to go to sleep that night.
Now you're going to Kansas City. Tell me the most important thing you learned from playing and coaching for Andy Reid.
He's honest with everybody. I think that's the number one thing, is just be you. Be who you are. Let your personality show. If you do those things, your team will respond.
You guys talked about that? That's why you're a good coach. See?
Now, he knows you very well. You know him very well. You both know you're going to be who you are. Who's got the edge in this, the pupil or the teacher?
Well, I would say he probably has the edge. He's been in more of these games as a coach, but when your team believes, like our team believes, good things can happen. Now, I can't predict the outcome of the game, but at least get it into the fourth quarter and give ourselves an opportunity.
Great conversation, Tony. I mean, belief is obviously something you have to have when you're down 27-0, but I spoke to some of the guys this week, and they said they were literally in the locker room saying, manifest the win, manifest the next play. And obviously that starts with your head coach, Doug Peterson.
It really does. And when these players talk about Doug, they talk about belief, but they also talk about calmness. And he told me that sitting out a year and spending time with his brother who was battling cancer really taught him that calmness, that football games aren't the most important thing, Jason.
No question about it. Both Andy Reid and Doug Peterson, they're great people. You can see Andy's impact on Doug through the years and how he handles the football team. But, Coach, also schematically, you put this tape on, it's like they're mirror images of each other. And one thing that jumps out is the quarterback-friendly environment that they put their players in. It's almost like these basketball analogies have been used, and it's layups or three-pointers. The screen game is going to be big, but they'll also take their shots throughout the ball game.
And the one thing Doug told me, Maria, is they both know each other, he and Andy, and they're going to do what they do. He said the meal is not going to change, but the presentation might be. They're going to eat meatloaf. It might have some mashed potatoes around it, but the meatloaf is still going to be there.
That's exactly right. When you know somebody really well, you get into this game of I think that you think that I think, and so sometimes you overthink the whole thing and you start changing. They're going to be who they are. They're going to put a different dress on the play. But when the ball hits the quarterback's hands, it's going to feel the same, and that's how you execute at a high level.
Listen, we just saw Trevor Lawrence out here taking the field, getting getting ready to play in his second ever playoff game. But the guy he's coached by, Doug Peterson's 5-2 in the playoffs. And with that record in every single win, he's been an underdog. So they know exactly how to come into a field like this and how to play. Let's bring back in Mike Florio, though. And Mike, over the recent years, the Chiefs offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, has been a name to watch with head coaching openings. What's his situation?
We know, Maria, this is the 5th cycle for Eric Bieniemy. Is yet to get an offer to become an NFL head coach. I'm told this year his best shot is in Indianapolis, but it is a crowded house there. 14 candidates, 11 interviews. I'm told early next week they'll trim that field up to 5 candidates for second interviews. Bieniemy could be one of them. If not, he's going to have to wait another year, Maria.
All right, thanks, Mike. You see Trevor Lawrence here. A lot of trust and faith they have to have in him. Through 4 interceptions in the first half, turned it around to 3 touchdowns in the second. As for the Chiefs defensive coordinator who has to defend him, let's go back out to Jack and Rodney.
Yeah, Maria, Rodney, you got to know Steve Spagnuolo up close and personal. He stole that Super Bowl ring from you. So, Trevor Lawrence, how will he attack him tonight?
Anytime you're playing against a young quarterback, you want to be aggressive. You want to show him different things and disguise and coverages up to the safeties to move around, but also the defensive line, the linebackers blitzing. I think he's going to do a great job. But where I really like Steve Spagnuolo, I think he's done a wonderful job of giving Chris Jones the freedom that he needs to become the player that he's become, the best defensive lineman in all of football.
Hey, there's not many defensive coordinators who say they won a championship for 2 different teams. You see why Andy Reid trusts them. The Jags and the Chiefs, they are on the field. 8 teams remain. Game 1 coming up from one of the loudest buildings in football, and it's a little wet out here on this grass as well.
We made the move from California to Missouri. It's special to be a part of Chiefs Kingdom.
The Chiefs Kingdom has firmly planted its flag. Let's go!
Let's take a look at my game day ritual.
You ready?
My dad had season tickets. Me and my brother would always have to compete to see who was the most well-behaved of the week to get to go.
I'm usually up at 5 a.m. pacing the house. I actually throw up every morning, every game.
Kansas City, you got a champion!
That was the best feeling. Me and my family were in tears watching that game.
It's all about just love for the game and love for the team.
There's 2 things I love in this world more than anything, and that's my family and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Trevor Lawrence said that Arrowhead won't be as loud as Jacksonville last week. He's in for a very rude awakening.
That's the sound you hear when Patrick Mahomes takes the field in Arrowhead Stadium. I had a chance to chat with them before during warm-up. Said it's my first time being here. Said, trust me, it's going to be a fun one. So stay tuned. 41 touchdowns in the season. The Kansas City Chiefs looking to make it to their 5th straight AFC Championship game, and the guys getting to call the divisional round against the Jaguars. Mike Tirico, Chris Collinsworth. Good afternoon, guys.
And to you, Maria, you're right. You're in for a treat. Arrowhead in a playoff game is something special. You know, have you ever gone to work and you like the boss and you like the work culture, environment? It feels fun. Well, we got to go to Chiefs practice Thursday, and I'll tell you what, Chris, I left. I had a good time. It was fun being around this team and in their workplace.
Like going to the circus, isn't it? You just kind of keep looking around and everything. But we got to go to Andy Reid's office up there, and we got to see the Beautiful Mind whiteboard with about 100 plays drawn on it, and they're all about that big, you know? And so I'm looking, and I'm trying to get an edge. I'm trying to find something I don't know on that board. But it just kind of gets overwhelming after a while. And there's just too much there. And I think that's exactly how defenses feel when they play against this Chiefs offense.
So many ideas, a collaboration led by Andy of a lot of great minds, but also with great players. And we know some of the big names, but you add good pieces, and he makes them work. For example, Kadarius Toney.
Kadarius Toney came out over here about week 9 in a trade, and my first thought was, that's not fair to add another piece to this puzzle over here. But it's all they need in this offense. One more toy for Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And, of course, his breakout game, against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we have seen some of his special abilities, but he's one of those guys that not only is he almost impossible to tackle on the field, but he's proven to them now that he can go up and get those vertical balls, those contested catches, and he solidified a little bit their special teams catching the punts.
All their wide receivers who are active today making their Chiefs playoff debut, and they are hungry to be in the Arrowhead atmosphere as well. We look forward to it. We'll be nice and dry here in the booth. Maria, I've done this show from the field in the snow. I'm sorry, but just enjoy it.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Okay, we're trying to stay dry. It's not going to work, so let's just go on the field. Presented by Progressive. All right, they talked a little about Tony, and we know that McKinnon, they're the X factors, but the factor, Travis Kelce.
Hey, the factor is that guy right there.
That's it.
Travis Kelce, elite possession receiver, elite big play receiver, elite run after catch, maybe most importantly, elite crunch time player. Mahomes is going to go to him often in this ball game today.
That's right. Kelce's the #1 option, but if Kelce is doubled, the other guy that's in the trust tree with Patrick Mahomes is Juju Smith-Schuster. His ability to work coverages underneath like a Travis Kelce, and then his size, I think Patrick Mahomes very comfortable with him, Coach Dungy.
And in the Jaguars attack, look for Christian Kirk in the slot. Trevor Lawrence is really great when he gets rid of the ball under 2.5 seconds. And in that first game, Kirk was the receiver who showed the ability to separate quickly.
For me, I'm looking at cornerback Trent McDuffie, and he'll have the job of defending Christian Kirk in the slot. But I love his versatility. He can play inside. He can play outside. He'll come up and tackle you. But what I really like about this corner is, unlike most young corners, he can actually find the ball and locate the ball in the air. He's going to be a heck of a player.
Hey, Rod, talking about the ball, how about Rayshon Jenkins for Jacksonville? It seems like every time they needed to make a play on the ball at a big moment, he was the guy who did it. He did it against Dallas. He did it against Tennessee. He's around the ball. He's provided veteran leadership to this team, but also playmaking ability at critical moments.
He is really good, and I'm going to go to the tackling machine on the Kansas City Chiefs. Nick Bolton is somebody to watch for on that Chiefs defense today. He can fly around the field, sideline to sideline. He'll be all over Travis Etienne. Good in the run game, also very good in the pass game. Watch out for him today, Rodney.
Talking about a tackling machine, you talk about Foye Oluokun, and I don't think we really truly appreciate what this young man has accomplished the last 2 years, leading the league in tackles. It's very difficult to do. Plus, you got to stay healthy, and you got to go against a lot of great linebackers. He should be all over the field tonight, Coach.
Rodney, I think the defender on the Jags with the most pressure on him tonight is Josh Allen. He's the left end. He's got a rush. He's athletic, but he can't get too wild because he's got to contain Patrick Mahomes. So how do you rush hard but take it easy and contain? We'll see.
My favorite thing is still Rodney interviewing Josh Allen first. You ask him about containing Mahomes, he just goes, big smile. I ain't got the answer, Sway. It'll be interesting, but it'll also be interesting because of weather, Chris. I see you got the ball. Help me understand how you keep it dry when we're in, like, sleet right now.
Well, right. And the first thing is, and I think Jason would agree with this, as a quarterback, when the elements get like this, the big key is don't over-grip the football. Because if you try to grip it too hard, the ball's going to squirt out of your hand and you're going to lose control of it. But I don't think it's at a point yet to where you have to worry about it changing the game too much.
Chris, who has the advantage?
Mahomes is used to this, and I've never seen Mahomes do anything but throw spirals, so of course he has the advantage.
And I think the biggest thing is the mental part of it. You can't let this get into your head. You're playing in the divisional round with a chance to go to the AFC Championship game. Don't grip it too hard. It becomes a bar of soap, but then just go play foot bright.
Referees in the NFL are very good at keeping the balls pretty dry for these quarterbacks. I don't think we're at the point where we need to panic quite yet.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about kind of mentality. When I was in Jacksonville spending time with some of the players, Evan Ingram said, this is a team, we always feel like our backs are up against the wall. So even if they get down, Kansas City starts out fast, you really can't rest there because they're always the team that's going to scratch and claw back.
Talking to these players on the field from Jacksonville, they believe in themselves. They believe in their coach, and they're not going to let anything rattle them today.
You still have to factor in the weather, Coach. I mean, this is a team from Florida. They're not used to practicing this. They're not used to just like your team, Coach.
You can do it. It's all mental.
It is is all mental. But it'd be really interesting to see what team shows up for Jacksonville today.
The Kansas City Chiefs, when I was at practice on Thursday, as much as we're impressed by Jacksonville and they're here, Kansas City was, I'm telling you, hitting on all cylinders. They certainly weren't taking the Jaguars lightly, and I think they got the big picture of the Super Bowl, of course, at the forefront of their mind. I was very impressed with the way they looked.
You know, I think the other thing that works to Kansas City's advantage is what happened last year against Cincinnati. They got off to the great start in the championship game, and then right before halftime, they got a little bit frivolous. They turned the ball over. Cincinnati uses that to their advantage. They know they have to play 60 minutes to come out of here with a victory.
Mike Caldwell, defensive coordinator of the Jaguars, he's going to have to play a lot more aggressive. Before, it was just rushing for pretty predictable zone, playing zone on first down, playing zone on second down, and then playing man-to-man on third. He's got to get after Patrick Mahomes, hit him, disrupt him, and confuse this offensive line.
You think they can play man against this group in Kansas City?
At times, you just can't sit back in zone, but at times, this is why you go out and pay these guys.
Yeah,
type of money
take some calculated
risk.
risks.
You got to challenge them.
And you know, Rodney, I was at their practice on Thursday. After it was over, Mike Caldwell spent about 15 minutes with the DBs in the red zone because they know how critical that's going to be, not making mistakes down there.
Coach, did he spend any time double teaming Travis Kelce? Because I've been calling for this the last 2 or 3 years, and nobody wants to double team Travis Kelce. And I don't care if it's third down, red zone, critical moments. That's going to be a key factor in the game.
And Rod, you know this better than anybody. Double team him and attack him at the line of scrimmage. Don't let him get started into the pass route. Be physical at the line of scrimmage. That's the only chance you have against that guy.
That's what I say. Sometimes you got to put hands on guys.
Exactly.
You got to get up
That's what you do.
I wasn't ready for that. That was unnecessary roughness.
He's ready. He's
There
getting ready.
Travis Kelce's ready. There's so many storylines we're here to follow, not to mention the coaching chess match we're going to be watching. Doug Peterson, Andy Reid. Doug Peterson said for 28 years he's been a part of my professional development, so we'll see the chess match between those two. Travis Kelce, maybe they'll get a double for Rodney Harrison. We'll see, but give a little love to the O-line. He'll be working hard here tonight.
So after an earned bye week, the top seed in the AFC welcomes the Cinderella story of the playoffs so far, those comeback Cats of Duval County. It's time now for today's game flow presented by Progressive Chris Jones, the master of disruption inside the Jags offensive line. They have some matchups that he may like.
Man, we've had him on our show so many times, and the first thing you notice is just how big he is. 6'6", 320 pounds. He's an absolute monster, and they use him in so many different ways. And now this is him in the inside beating the Jaguars' best offensive lineman. He just uses quickness. That's just absolutely too easy. So they move him one spot over to outside defensive end. And guess what he does? He uses his power. So now you see a 320-pound guy getting after him. I have not seen a guy that athletic, that big, and that hungry. Every time he talks to us, he tells us how bad he wants to be the best in the game.
He's
and
the
now
personality of that defense, too. And George Karlaftis, he was a monster at Purdue. That's starting to show up here now, too. 5.5 sacks he had in the last 7 games.
And this rookie has been absolutely terrific. I mean, the ability to play him inside and outside, and for him to start 17 games as a rookie, the maturity and the energy that he brings is just awesome.
Hey, Kansas City, they got an expensive offense. That means you got to go young on defense. You got to get some of these guys going throughout the course of the season. Men like George Karlaftis, they have been developed on the fly. It is working, Maria Taylor.
Hey, it's working for the Jags as well. They come to Kansas City on a 6-game winning streak, including last week's historic win over the Chargers. Had a chance to go down to Jacksonville and catch up with Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, and Zay Jones to relive one of the greatest comebacks in NFL history.
The lead is now 27-0.
The Jaguars now offensive, they got to get something going.
Okay, show of hands. How many of you guys actually thought that down 27, you'd be able to battle back and win the game? Raise your hand if you believed it. Liars.
Listen, I feel like we have a really present group, in the moment team. It was rough, but I never doubted, honestly.
I'm gonna let y'all finish, but Zay, since you told me the truth.
You can't score 27 points in one play. And so I remember looking at Christian and being like, this is gonna say a lot about who we are as men and how we finish this game.
Okay, so 4 interceptions for Trevor in the first half. What is he saying to you guys? What is he giving off?
He had good energy. Like, it wasn't, he didn't shut down. Like, he didn't, like, ball up into a corner.
Yeah,
like,
he didn't do that. I remember coming into halftime and sitting down next to Trevor and telling him, like, honestly, it doesn't get any worse than that, so we got nothing to lose.
What was the moment that it clicked in your head and it went from, okay, I don't think we can do this, to, oh, we can win, we're about to win this game?
I think when Evan scored, it was like, finally, we did something right.
Touchdown by Evan Ingram. All right, well, that's a start.
Your long touchdown catch, and it made it 30-20. So describe the play.
Okay, so fun fact, that was actually Christian's play. We had practiced that all week with Christian. We had got caught in a hurry-up style of offense, and Trevor checked it. So I just remember the detail of how he ran the route to the week of practice.
They go! Touchdown, Jaguars!
Okay, so then comes your touchdown.
Just clear the court, you know, one-on-one isolation, and, you know, just got to go.
Christian Kirk for the score!
Coach calls and we're going for 2.
Yeah.
You see Trevor punch it in. Your reaction?
I was supposed to get the ball. He actually came on the side. He was like, bro, my bad. I was like, bro, shut up. Like, you did your job.
36-yarder from the right hash to win the game.
Are you watching the game-winning field goal or not?
I didn't watch it. No. You watched it?
I watched it.
Why?
Yeah. I was just so proud of how we just even got to that point. I sat down, had the nice little view.
The field goal is good!
The guys are doing their job, made the kick, and we're on to the next.
Guys, our full chat's on the NFL and NBC YouTube channel, but I love spending time with them. I mean, those are 3 guys that were added in the offseason. Remember, this is a season that started 2-6 for Jacksonville, but they said that they believed the entire season that this was an opportunity, that this is where they could ultimately be. And I think that that game last week is really the ultimate microcosm of that. Even though they've been down, they never come out.
Hey, Coach, you know this better than anybody else. If you're a head coach and you tell the team something's going to happen beforehand and then it happens, you get great credibility. He did that in the middle of the season. They're 3-7. Hey, we're going to be playing for the division in the last game. That happens. So at halftime, when Doug says, hey, Trevor, we just got to chip away at this thing, one play at a time, one drive at a time, we can get back into it, they believe him, and they go out there and do it.
Yeah, impressive. It all started at the end of the second quarter to me. Peterson got Trevor Lawrence some easy throws, got him a little confidence going, and then his patience in the second half. Didn't try to do it just one play. Coach, the team down 27 ran the ball more than the team that was up 27, and I got to give Doug Peterson a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, you know, Chris, I was there all week preparing for the game broadcast, and the words you kept hearing from their players was belief. We believe in these coaches. We believe in our leader. We believe, and we're not going to let anything stop us.
Yeah, but listen, Trevor Lawrence, he had 4 interceptions in that first half. One thing Evan said, though, is he took full accountability. He kept trying to encourage us. But you got to have a lot of trust in your quarterback after a first half like that to battle back into the game, Coach.
And they all do, and Coach Peterson does. He and Trevor Lawrence meet on Thursdays, and they talk about situations and what they want to do. And he gives him freedom to change any play at the line of scrimmage. I'm broadcasting, and I'm hearing 63 Ali. I said, this has got to be something special. I don't know what he saw, Chris, but he dialed it up, got this crossing route into Zay Jones.
Unbelievable play, and must have had a feel for Derwin James. Maybe was going to take the bait on Christian Kirk, but just shows you the maturity of Trevor Lawrence and the fact that Doug Peterson believes in him, and that empowers him.
Hey, and the huge challenge for these guys today is that Chiefs defensive line. Joe Cullen, the Chiefs defensive line coach, one of the best in the business, and that whole group, Chris Jones and everybody else, they're having career years, so that's going to be a huge challenge for those guys up front.
Well, here's what I know for facts, okay? If the Jaguars win, you're going to find Trevor Lawrence at a Waffle House because that's how he celebrated his first playoff win. His wife, Marissa, made a reservation, guys. I didn't know they had him at Waffle House.
At Waffle House?
Yes. And the teammates, a couple teammates joined, and the late night crowd was there. And Trevor got a Texas bacon cheesesteak, hash browns, covered, and a pecan waffle. What does covered mean, Chris?
I don't know, but all I know is I went to the Waffle House when I got here to Kansas City, and it was good.
Covered means with cheese, okay? Time for a divisional round edition of Sunday Night 7 featuring a $100,000 jackpot. Matthew, how many passing yards for Patrick Mahomes?
A great question, Maria. I think
Listen, Patrick Mahomes is averaging 307 passing yards in his career during the playoffs. Jags allow the 5th most passing yards this season. Give me that 300 or 319 option. I think Travis Kelce's a big part of those yards as well, as the Jags allow the 3rd most yards to tight ends. They also want to know how many touchdowns. I'm going to say 2. Patrick Mahomes has had multiple touchdown passes in 73% of his career playoff games. When we return, Patrick Mahomes and how he wants Andy Reid to coach him hard. Come on back.
We are kicking off the divisional round here in Kansas City. Okay, his name is Matt Black, but his nickname is almost Andy Reid. Shout out to you for being a part of our opening shot. I love it. He looks just like Andy Reid, who Chris had an opportunity to catch up with when he came here to Kansas City. Remember, there were questions about how Patrick Mahomes and the new look offense would adjust without Tyreek Hill. That's exactly what Chris spoke to Reid about this week. Take a listen.
Probably the thing I'm most proud of him for, filling in a whole new receiving corps. So he comes in and he takes that group down to Texas and works with them in the offseason, and he's able to talk. Man, this guy really is good at this and this and this. We're able to stay back here and put things together. Wow. Yeah, and then they come back for OTAs, and we've kind of got a good feel without even coaching these guys. We have a good feel for what they can do. But for him to accept the guys, and sometimes that's like important.
That. Right.
Yeah, that's paid off for us.
Talking about Patrick having this great year this year, you got a great system. How do you balance the conversation of, hey, believe in the system, but yet I still want you to be Magic Mahomes at times?
How about that ad-lib by Patrick Mahomes, a Houdini move?
Now listen, there's certain red lights you got to stop at, and then there are yellow lights, and you have a little flexibility with it.
That's something you like. You do a man.
We can do this, but we can't do this right here. Let's just make sure we stop here. Yeah. And he's phenomenal with that. He wants to know, how far can we go with this? What's possible and what's impossible? It's kind of fun that way.
Let's get it, baby. You gotta love this, man. You have to. You have to.
He's coachable.
He wants you to coach him.
He does, okay.
Yeah, he wants you to coach him hard.
Right.
And be honest with him. And he loves when you feed him stuff. Yeah. And he's willing to come up with stuff. He's not shy about that. Either are the guys around him.
That's how you get in there, dog.
You guys do snow globe and all this crazy stuff. Talk about the jump-off point as far as how those things materialize during the season.
Those come from everybody.
They do. Really.
Yeah, and nobody claims them. That's what's so cool about it. It's not to embarrass the other team. We're doing it to have something different in this league that you can score with.
Now they spin around. They look like the Four Tops.
And then who's to say something's impossible? If you can just kind of think that way, within the realm of things. Let's try and see what's possible.
Great conversation. You can watch the full one on the NFL NBC YouTube channel. But you can tell there's a great relationship between Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. They work together and feed off each other, and it's led to really the career highs in passing yards, completion percentage. He's thrown for 41 touchdowns this season. It's been fun to watch.
It's special. He's special. We know that. His game's gone to another level because his maturity and patience, like Andy Reid said, he's seeing the yellow light a little bit more. Not everything's going to be a 50-yard bomb. He's taking the check down, playing smart that way, and of course that's really helped his football team. Now, one of the things I'm worried about in this matchup is the Jaguars' ability to pass off crosser, Maria. The coaches, they'll tell you when you play Kansas City, you got to worry about, yes, somebody going deep, but Kelsey or Juju Smith-Schuster crossing the field, and they continually and repetitively messed up their assignments and did not see crossers. It was a huge problem for them in the first matchup, Coach.
And the big thing, those crossing routes take time to develop, and with a four-man rush and very little blitzing, Mahomes had time. You can see it here. This is going to be Marquez Valdez-Scantling running all the way across the field, Jason.
Coach, I couldn't agree with you more. You have to blitz them. You have to mix it up. But the problem with Kansas City is if you blitz those guys too much, it's not only a guy like Kelsey, but it's the other guys, Kadarius Toney, Jerick McKinnon, all these guys, they get isolated when you pressure. They're the X factors in this game. Kadarius Toney picked up from the Giants. This guy is a dynamic player. I was around him with the Giants last year. He's quick, he's explosive, he has these rare playmaking traits, and McKinnon the same way. They use these guys a lot of different ways, and if you leave them isolated, they're going to hurt you. This Chiefs offense has more answers
than years past. To what Jason's talking about, too. They have a run game this year. I asked Andy Reid, I said, do I need to drug test you? Because you're getting underneath the center, and they're playing smash mouth football, too, which gives them another way to attack defense. It's very impressive.
Well, remember, when they met in Week 10, Kansas City rolled up almost 500 yards of offense, 4 touchdowns Patrick Mahomes threw to 4 different receivers. So you know those X factors, and then Travis Kelce, the factor. We'll see how they're able to defend him. Jack Roddy, you guys got any solutions for the Jaguars?
Maria, I'm with you. All those guys stepping up, help the Chiefs become the NFL's best offense once again. But that Jacksonville defense they will face, they were great in the second half last week.
Defensive coordinator Mike Caldwell, he's going to have to get out his comfort zone. You can't affect Patrick Mahomes rushing 4 guys and just playing predictable zone coverage. You got to mix things up. Maybe a 4-man simulated blitz with the linebacker dropping out and one of the defensive backs blitzing. But you got to get after Patrick Mahomes. You got to confuse his offensive line, and you got to hit him. You got to be aggressive. And on the back end, you can't be afraid to play man-to-man against these wide receivers. No longer do they have Tyreek Hill. They can get after these guys. They just got to believe.
And Travis Kelce, he told us earlier in the year, he said, I feel like you can't double me. So how do you try to slow him down?
Anytime Travis Kelce comes off the line of scrimmage, you got to hit him, you got to jam him. But on third down in the red zone, you got to put 2 guys on him. I want to see him prove me wrong.
Hey, this is starting to sound like a playoff game in here.
Right, baby.
I think they like this weather around here. We're counting down to kick off the Jags and the Chiefs, the top seed against the second half heroes. Can Doug Peterson keep the magic alive against his old mentor, Andy Reid?
Football weather, 38 degrees here in Kansas City, Missouri. We've gone from snow to sleet to now a little bit of rain. And it feels good to be here kicking off the divisional round. Kansas City looking for their 5th straight run to an AFC championship game. Jaguars playing in the playoffs for the first time since 2017. It's time now for the home team picks, brought to you by Lowe's. America, 58% of the country is on the side of the Chiefs. All right, America, we hear you. Mike Florio, what say you?
Well, you know, one thing I'm really looking for, I talked to Patrick Mahomes about this last month. He says the behind-the-back pass is coming. Wouldn't it be great if it came today? Either way, I think the Chiefs win.
Yeah, listen, Mike. Andy Reid off of a bye is ridiculous. In Kansas City, including the playoffs with Patrick Mahomes, he's 9-1 off the bye. He goes to 10-1 today. Chiefs are going to win. Jack?
Yeah, fellas, we all know about Kansas City offensively, but they have been playing a ton of rookies and young players defensively. That group has grown together throughout the year. I'm taking the Chiefs, Rod.
Coach Reid, all he talked about is having a consistent run game. He finally has that. Will he run the ball tonight? Whether he runs it or not, I'm still picking Kansas City.
Maria Taylor, taking those Jags?
Well, Chris, you get to go first, bud.
Well, no problem here. Okay, I think the Chiefs are better up front on both sides of the ball. They have Patrick Mahomes, okay, and what I saw in practice on Thursday was a team on a mission. I'm going Chiefs.
All right, I usually go with the squad that I interview, but I'm sorry, Evan, Christian, and Zay. I'm going with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, my coach, Chuck Knowles, said you win Super Bowls by doing the ordinary things well. I want to see if Kansas City can do those ordinary things, and I believe they will today.
Yeah, to me, this is about handle the heat and gash the heat. Pressure's going to be such a big part of this game. Blitzing and handling the blitz. Can you handle it? Can you make some big plays off of it? I love the Jacksonville story. 7 straight divisions for Kansas City. 4 straight AFC Championships game. It's going to be the 5th. I take the Chiefs.
All right, well, Jacksonville, they come in here with 6 straight wins. We're going with the full board of Kansas City. Both teams are taking the field. Those were today's home team picks brought to you by Lowe's. The home team is Kansas City, but the Jaguars are looking to stun the world again. Chiefs trying to reach the AFC Championship. Mike, Chris, and Melissa have the call. We'll see you at halftime.
This has been Football Night in America, presented by Progressive. Spanish language audio provided by Telemundo Deportes. Or watch tonight's game in Spanish on Universo.